Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Raider Roster Report. This is Raider Sparks. We're going to be talking today about the cornerback draft class and see what that looks like for the Raiders. Last time we went over the wide receivers and specifically mainly the X-type receivers, which I believe is the Raiders' biggest need. But if that's 1A, then quarterback is 1B because we got exposed in that Cincinnati game, and really we need a lockdown corner, and Casey's not coming back, so we got to find somewhere. So I thought it would be good to look at the lockdown corners that we might be able to get in this year's draft and kind of understand the scheme of things. It looks like we'll probably play a little bit more press man this year than in years past. And I know not afraid to go to zone. The Giants did go to zone halfway through the year last year because their press man wasn't very good. So they did go to the zone, and their defense got a lot better. But I think the Patriot way is press man and really multiple type cornerbacks that can do multiple things. So I think that's kind of what the type of defense we're going to be looking for. And let's see if we can't find it in the draft here. I know that the X receiver, I think it's smart for us to get in the draft because the couple X receivers that there are, you're talking about at least 16 million, probably more like 18 million a year, up to like 25 for Devontae or whatever. So that would be tough to get. So I think we almost have to go that route in the draft, and then take a look at possibly getting a like a Stephon Gilmore or something like that. I think he's probably going to want like somewhere between maybe 12 and 14 a year for just 2 year contract, maybe like 20 million or so guarantee. I think we could maybe swing that as opposed to like J.C. Jackson, who's probably going to be somewhere around 20 million. So big difference there. So I think it might be wise to go get our a quarterback and get him for 2 or 3 years, something to get us through that window to get to the Super Bowl. Obviously we want to get to the Vegas Super Bowl, so that's kind of what I was thinking. And then, add a DJ Chark, a Z type receiver in free agency, and then get the X receiver in the draft. But if we decide to do something bold and different and get an X type receiver, then maybe it is the cornerback that we look at. So the first one we'll take a look at for the first round would be Derek Stingley. I doubt he'll be there, but you never know. And I'll contradict myself a few times during this broadcast because he kind of defies it. Like his production his freshman year was incredible: 6 interceptions, 15 pass breakups in 2019. Then he fell off the map. He had 5 pass breakups in 2020 and none in 21, and he hasn't had an interception since 2019, injuries or whatnot. But I think his case is different. I think he's going to test phenomenal at the combine. I think his interviews are going to go great. I kind of think he was just either bored or just like, hey, I just need to get through the 2 years without having a serious injury, and I'll be a first round lock. So I hope that's what was going on. If there's something more, we'll find out probably in the medical or in the or what happens with the combine. So the next guy would be Sauce Garner. This guy would definitely be worthy of a first round pick. I don't think he'll be there 22 either, but phenomenal player. 6'3", 200 pounds, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups last year. But let's be honest, they don't really throw at him. He gave up no touchdowns his whole entire career at Cincinnati, and yeah, he projects more as a zone cornerback, but he can definitely play man. He gets a little grabby at times, but we're playing two high safety or two split safeties anyway, so he'll have help over the top. He won't probably be as grabby, and so I think he'll be a dynamite pickup for us. But as far as that goes, outside of those two, it's hard to see a first round pick. I mean, Booth, I don't think is the guy just because of his injury history. Even last year, the coaches had to challenge him, say, "Hey, your best availability is availability." Your best ability is availability. So they knew he was getting hurt all the time, and even last year, as the sample size goes, I mean, even if he goes up and makes a tackle on running back, he's hurt. So I just don't want to deal with another Trayvon's always hurt, but our DBs constantly. I want a guy, if we get a guy in the first round that I know can be out there and be a productive player. And plus, I don't think the drop off is too great from some of the next guys on the board. I mean, Roger McQuarrie is probably a slot guy. 6 foot 190, 2 interceptions, 14 pass breakups, which is the most in the SEC. He had 30 over the last 3 seasons and 41 solo tackles last year. So to me, that's a slot guy because he's doesn't have length. He only has 29-inch arms, but he was dynamite at the Senior Bowl. But they were playing a lot in the slot. I think that's how the NFL teams see him. So the only other first-round pick that I think is Kyler Gordon out of Washington. I know a lot of people talk about his teammate Trent McDuffie. But again, I think Trent McDuffie profiles better as a slot too because they list him at 5'11". I don't think he's 5'11". He 185, 6 pass breakups, 25 solo tackles. But Kyler Gordon's 6'2", 200. I think he's all of that. 200 pounds, 7 pass breakups, and 36 solo tackles. And he's a freak athlete. I mean, ideally you wouldn't want to draft him at 22, but if you trade it back or maybe trade back up into the second round, he might still be there. But I think his combine is going to be off the charts. I think he's the third best cornerback for what we need is a shutdown man-to-man guy that can play zone, that come up and tackle and do those types of things. I think he's probably the best candidate for it. In the next group of folks, I go all the way down to the third round because you have Kyrie Elam probably in the second round, but you really only have a 5-game snapshot of what he can do. And honestly, yeah, 1 interception, 5 pass breakups. In a 5-game period, you only get 42 receiving yards, but he's even fallen in the mock drafts. I think people are catching on that his sample size is pretty small. So if you go down to the third round, you're dealing with guys like Alton Taylor from Tennessee, who I really liked at the Senior Bowl, but I think he projects a little bit better as a zone guy. You have your Mario Goodrich, Derek Kendrick, Martin Emerson. Those guys, to me, all are a little bit on the slower side, not as twitchy, not as switch-up athletes. But I just want to talk about Marcus Jones out of Houston. I don't think we're going to maybe necessarily take him because I'm not a big fan of the small quarterbacks. But if we did get a small quarterback, this would be the guy. He's 5'8", 185, but 36 solo tackles, 5 INTs, and 13 pass breakups. Not only that, he's a dynamic returner. Kick return yardage, 34 average last year with 2 TDs. Punt return, 14.4 average with 2 TDs. So this guy's a dynamite athlete. So if we were to get a slot guy, I think this would be the guy. But really in that third round, I mean, Kobe Bryant, he had a great career. And I'm not a big fan of guys with 5-year careers. But with COVID, I think this might be one case you kind of maybe look a little bit past it. But I'm looking for dominance. Have you been there 5 years? And, 6'1", 185, 34 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 11 pass breakups. Pretty damn good. He came to the Senior Bowl with a tremendous reputation. He got cooked a lot. He got cooked some, I'll say that. He had some good and bad moments at the Senior Bowl. But I think I'll go, and he was still voted with his peers as the best quarterback. So I think right with him, I'll go with the combine. So if he shows me the combine that he's got the short shuttle down, the 3-cone drill, the speed, the low straight line speed, the 40, I'm going to look at his career and say, yeah, we'll sign off on him on the third round. If I see the combine and those stats aren't very good, then I'll know, hey, you know what? He was getting cooked by better players. So I think for him, the combine's huge. But if it checks out, he'd be the third round guy I would take a look at. And then Tariq Wallan, I really liked him out of the Senior Bowl. The only problem is he's a 5th-year guy at a UTSA, a small school, 6'4", 205, and really didn't have much production either in the 5th year, which just scares me. It's 17 solo tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 INT, and 5 pass breakups. But he's a 5th-year senior at a small school. I would expect much more dominant numbers from a guy like that. I mean, the upside is there, but I think it puts him down in the 4th round personally. And then I would take a look at Monteric Buster Brown out of Arkansas if I'm going to be in the late 3rd, early 4th round. This guy's sticky in coverage. His biggest issue is penalties. I think he had 6, maybe PIs. I don't know if they're all PIs, but I think that's what it was 6 PIs. But he's battle tested. 4 years SEC. He's guarded like the best receivers in the NFL right now. He's sticky in coverage. I really like this guy. 6 foot 190, 54 tackles, 5 INTs, and 6 pass breakups. This man could cover. In fact, he's probably a 3rd round pick. And if it was, see how the combine goes. But if he's comparable in combine as Kobe Bryant in the 3rd round, I think this is the guy we go with. He's very versatile. He can do man or zone, and he's a playmaker. Look at all the interceptions, 5, 6 pass breakups. I mean, and he's guarding the best athletes in the world. So this is the guy that I would be kind of taking a look at. Another guy, Naheem Preacher out of Auburn, 6'1", 179, just a little smaller in stature, but good competitive, good hips and everything, but lacks length. Out of Auburn, I like him, but I think he'll be more like a slot guy. But if we move down to I don't know, the 5th round or so, Jermaine Waller, really good cornerback out of Virginia Tech. 6'1", 180, 30 solo tackles, 4 INTs, and 5 pass breakups. So he's got the ball skills, and he's a playmaker too. This guy's a stud playmaker. So I would definitely consider him in the later rounds for more of what we need. Uh, Josh Jobe, maybe. I want to see out of Alabama. I want to see his combine first, but I really like Jeremy Waller. He played in the Shrine game, did a really good job. Coaches were impressed with him. He's got that big build. Look at him. He's a stud. I would definitely pick him up. And then Kyler McMichael, he of North Carolina, another Shrine Bowl guy. He can do it all. Wasn't thrown out a lot, honestly. 6'2", 210. He's real well built. Only 11 tackles, 1 INT, 1 pass breakup. But what I saw in the Shrine Bowl was every time the quarterback's first option was his guy, the ball was always pulled back. He was playing multiple types. He was doing press man, off man, zone, and he looked really good. I mean, I want to see what his combine numbers look like, but it's somebody to keep an eye on. Some other guys, Caleb Jones and Ali Green out of Tulsa. Spent 4 years at Tulsa, extremely physical cornerbacks, and transferred to Missouri, so they're 5-year guys. They didn't have a lot of production. Evans was there at the Senior Bowl. He did good. He's just really grabby. A lot of penalties. Ali Green, same thing. Super physical, but you're going to get a lot of penalties. So if there's a coach out there that can coach that out of him, maybe. Again, just red flags to me, 5 years, not a lot of production. But, never know. 6th round, Zion McCollum, a small school guy again. You never know. Might do some damage. But one of the small school guys that I really like is Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville, 6'2", 193, 20 solo tackles, 3 INTs, 8 pass breakups, and recorded one of the fastest miles per hour time at the Senior Bowl. This guy turned heads. He can play ball, and, if it's down in the 5th round, this is another guy that would fit our system. He can do zone or man. He's physical. He's tough. He can tackle. He could do all the things that we would need him to do. I mean, there's a ton of small school guys. I mentioned Zion. Jacoby Durant, 5'10", 175, 12 interceptions in his career. He had 15 pass breakups last year and 3 INTs. I mean, this guy, Jacoby Durant, I know out of South Carolina State. Steelers were looking at him at the Shrine Bowl. Jaquan McMillan is another guy. He's 5'10", 183, 38 solo tackles, 5 interceptions, 10 pass breakups in 3 years. This guy's a really good player. Small school, though. Again, out of Eastern Carolina, but at the Shrine Bowl, he impressed. So another guy. And then Jazir Taylor, 5'10", out of Wake, 47 tackles, 2 INTs, 5 pass breakups. He was in college for 5 years at Wake, but those are good productive numbers, and he'd be a slot guy as well. So something to consider. I know Will Adams, Virginia State out of the HBCU, he dominated, but he's more of the HBCU Bowl, but he's more of a safety, I think. I'll do that under the safeties. But he's a cornerback / safety, which I'll talk about. There's a lot of good guys. One guy I did leave out of here is Tariq Castro-Fields out of Penn State. He dominated, or didn't dominate, but he did well at the Senior Bowl with his closing speed. Unfortunately, he had to use the closing speed too much, and I think he got burned a few times. But that makeup speed's important. He's 6 foot 197, 26 solo tackles, 7 pass breakups. Again, another 5th-year guy. But 7 pass breakups, I don't consider that maybe dominant because there's no interceptions to go with it, but still pretty good. He put on a good show at the Senior Bowl, especially with his speed. And so a 6th, 7th round guy, I could see us taking a shot at that. But there's some really good talented players. I know my evaluations are a lot different. A lot of people are really high on Booth and McQuarrie and McDuffie, those guys. And then Alton Taylor, which I did like. He was smooth at the Senior Bowl. I was worried about his twitch a little bit, his speed. Mario Goodrich showed good stuff in short yardage. Like, he did really well there, but he just struggled in long. Same with Darius Kendrick. And Martin Emerson obviously was an underclassman, so he wasn't there, but his concerns are a little bit of speed too. He's a long, lengthy. All these guys seem like zone guys to me. So that's the reason I picked the guys I did. I think they're probably the best at man, have the length to play on the outside. I did highlight a few guys that were slot guys in here as well, in case we wanted to give Nate a backup, But I definitely think early on we need to be looking at that position for the shutdown corner. But I think it's maybe best just kind of given what we got. The top 2 guys I doubt we'll get. And then after that 22nd pick is kind of no man's land. It's not really the place that I feel the next best person is Kyler Gordon. And I think that's too high of a pick for him. But if we could trade back at some point and do that, that's kind of where I would be at. But also, if we had to stick there, the Kyler Gordon, I mean, I wouldn't hesitate picking him at 22. I just think it's a little bit of an overreach. That's why I'd rather get Stephen Gilmore, something like that, and then go get our X receiver, Traylon Burks or Drake London in the first round, because I don't think that would be an overreach at 22, and I think we could get one of those guys there. So, anyways, that's what I have for the cornerbacks this year. Please like, share, subscribe, make comments. I want to hear your thoughts. If I left somebody out, or if you think I undervalued somebody or overvalued somebody, let me know. There's a lot of good candidates, and after the combine, we'll get into more of it because we'll whittle the list down based on their combine numbers, and then also match some production of what we saw with the All-Star games and obviously throughout their careers and things like that. Get a little better understanding of what the team might be looking for going into free agency, and then coming out of free agency, what we actually truly need. Do we need a first, second round pick, or can we get a depth guy later? Because there are some really good depth guys here, and some guys that can go in and challenge Trayvon Mullen for that second spot for sure, and then also backup Nate as well. So, and again, we don't have many quarterbacks on the roster either. I thought top of my head, Mullen and Amik. On that, I'm not sure we really have anybody else of significance. So, or Hobbs, of course, but he's a starter. So, anyways, please like, share, subscribe to the video, make comments. Love to hear what you guys have to say out there. And I think the next video I'll do will be on our defensive tackles and some of the defensive tackles that are in the class. Hopefully you liked the video. This again, Raider Sparks. Please, definitely comment, like, share, subscribe, do all those fun things. And I'll talk to you next time.